pick one up when I go out today. Other than that, I'm in good shape.
Now, we all know who he is.
It's Macaulay Culkin!
Macaulay Culkin! Macaulay Culkin.
Good evening. My name is Macaulay Culkin.
A child that seemed to have the potential to reach the very top, a future that looked cemented, but instead was the complete opposite of reality. 1980, New York City. Macaulay Culkin was born to parents Kit and Patricia, but from the get-go, the family wasn't really ever financially stable. They were a struggling family. His parents also had 6 other kids to look after as well. Kit, who previously was an actor, would push Macaulay in the same path. 1984, Macaulay would turn 4 years old, and it would be the same year that the young boy would start a journey to remember. The journey would start in the theatres. After advice from relatives to send him to a theatre studio, their next door neighbour was a stage manager at the Ensemble Theatre. But always at some point, Macaulay would be seen crawling underneath theatre seats to see if there was any loose change that he could grab to help the family back at home. Billy Hopkins, a New York casting director who gave a 6-year-old Macaulay Culkin his first part, would say, "They had no money. I mean, they didn't even have a credit card. I gave money to my stage manager to send Macaulay home at night after his rehearsals." His first 5 years of education, he went to St. Joseph's Catholic School. Then, at the age of 8, Macaulay would finally get his first credited role in a movie called Rocket Gibraltar in 1988. And then the next year would be included in a full film, Uncle Buck, to which he earned $40,000 royalty. And from his contribution in the film, he would eventually get scouted from his performance. And then the breakthrough happened for Macaulay.
Well, Macaulay, here we are in Los Angeles, and the whole world now is about to see your movie, Home Alone. And last night when I saw the movie, you were sitting just the row in front of me, and you were having a real good time.
Yeah, I thought it was real funny. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
It was recommended by John Hughes, who was a producer and screenwriter, and from this he would get a shot at being the main character at a movie called Home Alone, which would end up being a blockbuster movie and is now a Christmas tradition for many families to watch and enjoy. Macaulay's dad managed to get Kieran, Macaulay's brother, involved in the film, to which he would play the cousin of Kevin. After Macaulay's instant rise of fame due to the instant success of Home Alone, he would continue to act in theatres, but because of his contribution to the theatre, the ticket prices instantly rose. But the next film he decided that he would be participating in was Only the Lonely, and then would co-star in the film My Girl, which was released in 1991. And it was around this age that Macaulay Culkin was at the age of 10, and at the age of 10 would achieve the monumental status of being a millionaire. The return of the box office hit Home Alone 2 was released, and to no surprise, Macaulay returned as Kevin McCallister, and the film was an instant hit at box office, with it earning more than $300 million. As a result of this, Macaulay's contribution to the film, he was paid a whopping $4.5 million. However, a year later, in the drama The Good Son, the charming actor appeared in a completely different role. He played a sociopathic boy, ready to commit a crime for the sake of pleasure. Although the movie paid off, the film didn't receive good reviews at all.
Welcome to the home of the richest kid in the world. The home of Richie Rich.
Hello?
But moving on from that, his next film would be Richie Rich, which again received negative reviews, with people claiming that Macaulay looked bored throughout the whole film. But the reason for this was because Macaulay was getting tired of acting. He wanted a normal lifestyle, but there may be more sinister reasons for this also.
Yeah, no, it just took 6 years off, trying to figure out everything, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life,
Yeah.
funny enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And, yeah.
So you retired when you were how old?
14.
14.
14-year-old Macaulay Culkin retired from acting. No one understood why. Sure, he had a blip in performances, but he was a top prospect. His personal life was getting in the way of acting, but in a different way. He was so tired of being in the light all the time, he wanted to regather his life and understand the meaning of what it was to grow up and be a teenager. But that wasn't the only reason he would decide to retire. Further information came out that the antics of his manager, also known as his father, was actually getting up to. Kit would become increasingly controlling as his son's popularity grew, and soon had the reputation in the industry for being a character with unreasonable and demanding requests, as he wanted to maximise personal profits for Macaulay's contribution to any project he was negotiating with. One main condition when signing new film contracts with Macaulay was that they would have to involve Macaulay's brother and his sister Kieran and Rory. The newspapers would call this the Culkin clan's attack on Hollywood.
Plus you had the situation with your dad. I know that was pretty overbearing and you're...
Yeah, no, he was a bit of an overbearing person, and,
Yeah.
you know, it got to the point when he wasn't around anymore where I could actually say I didn't want to work anymore because it became not fun. I loved it when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, it was a really great thing for me. I mean, holy cow, you're doing a movie. You know, it's, you know, when you're 6 years old, it's amazing. And after a while, it became not fun. It became something I didn't want to do anymore. And I think I had to take these 6 years to try to figure out that this is maybe what I wanted to do again. And it's funny. It's kind of my life is going full circle again.
This is where it gets really confusing and stressful for him, because his parents would split in 1995. He was 15 years old, and his parents would be in a battle for their children's custody, which would be a very contentious and expensive battle. Patricia thought that Mac's fame would bring in a lot more to the family than initially did. The main reason for the split was Kit. He was becoming so obsessive of making sure Macaulay was always acting and making the most profit from whatever Macaulay was being a part of.
You know, it got to the point when he wasn't around anymore where I could actually say I didn't want to work anymore because it became not fun. I loved it when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, it was a really great thing for me. I mean, holy cow, you're doing a movie. You know, it's, you know, when you're 6 years old, it's amazing. And after a while, it became not fun. It became something I didn't want to do anymore.
He was tarnishing relationships internally, which was also affecting Macaulay's chances of getting involved in anything in the future.
But at the same time, I think, you know, I don't think he knew how many bridges he was burning at the same time.
Macaulay would say in an interview that his father taught him how not to be, and how I don't want to be with my children. He's just a bad guy, with Kit abusing Macaulay emotionally and sadly physically, with Macaulay claiming that he has scars to prove this. He was also abusive towards Patricia. He threatened to throw her off their home balcony. To understand the extent the family preferred when their dad wasn't at home, Kieran quoted, "Sometimes in the 90s, Kit would disappear for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and the babysitter remarked to my mum, 'You know what's funny, is their father has been gone for 3 weeks, and not one of them has said, "Hey, where's dad?" Nobody cared. My mum was the parent, so when he wasn't there, it was nicer and better. But moving on to the court case, Macaulay found out how much he was worth for the first time ever. Previously, he would say that my father would hide newspapers from me, so I wouldn't read stuff about him or find out how much I was making. Macaulay learned how to read court papers at the age of 14, and this is what he said. "It was always misconstrued that I emancipated myself from my parents. I legally took my parents' name out of my trust fund and found an executor, someone who would look over my finances, just in case someone wanted to stick their pinky in the pie." The battle would end in 1997 when Kit conceded, and the kids happily remained with their mother, Patricia. And since the court case was complete, Kit to this day has had nothing to do with the family, and has claimed that Macaulay was never his son. Life was different, but better without Kit in the family's life, and especially for Macaulay, as he didn't have any pressure to be forced into doing things he didn't want to do. From his hiatus of acting, he was able to put more attention into his education.
Okay, you retired, you're 14.
I don't know, went to school.
Yeah.
I mean, I had never really done a full year of school before in my life.
Well, I haven't either, so that's, you know, there you go. Now, so what is that like? Did you go into a school with other kids? I mean, was it weird?
Yeah, I went to a place called the Professional Children's School.
Oh, that sounds really annoying.
Yeah, very. It wasn't professional, there was no children there, and it was barely a school.
Going into this new life that Macaulay was living, he was learning about what it meant to be a normal human again, and didn't have any intention of being a part of any sort of projects anytime soon. He even rejected the most iconic film in history, which was the Titanic. In 1998, he got married to Rachel Miner, but after 2 years, they decided to split up, and in the further 2 years, they had the official divorce. In 2003, would attempt to revive his acting career. Party Monster would be the choice of film he would choose to return to from his hiatus. He played the character Michael Ailing. In the same year, he would date Mila Kunis, and would last for 8 years. It was a serious relationship, with the conversations of marriage being involved. When Mila came into Macaulay's life, it seemed to have reignited the spark inside of Macaulay to be himself again, and him and Mila even done the voiceover together for Robot Chicken. September 2004, Macaulay was charged with drug possession without prescription. But then the news came out about Michael Jackson being tried after reports came out that he was molesting children.
For once in his life, Michael Jackson was not the center of attention, even though this has been a crucial day in his trial. The focus instead was on the defense's first celebrity witness, the actor Macaulay Culkin.
And Macaulay was drew into this because he was Michael's friend since he was 9, so there's questions raised about his safety around Jackson, but Macaulay came out to his defense straight away by saying that they gained a close bond because of similarities of their upbringing, which led to them relating on a personal level, therefore making a close friendship. Macaulay was called to testify in Jackson's defense during the trial, which took place in 2005, and Macaulay would say that he had never had any sort of inappropriate experiences with Michael. Then in 2006, he would release his somewhat of a mini autobiography called Junior. And just like that, as everything in Macaulay's life was taking an upwards trajectory, within a blink of an eye, he was brought back down to the harsh reality that the world can be. In 2008, he suffered the biggest heartache. His closest friend and companion, his sister Dakota, would suddenly pass away at the age of 29. This would then start a chain reaction of many addictions that Macaulay started, just so that he could cope with the reality of what has happened to him, but still had the spark to appear in acting, with him appearing in a handful of episodes of the series Kings in 2009. But then in 2011 was when he lost another key person in his life, with Mila and him parting ways. After all this, you could visually see the decline of Macaulay and the true effect these events had on him. The press would constantly bring up the rumour of Macaulay's addictions, to which they stated he spent $6,000 a month on it. Macaulay would deny all claims that the press made about him, although in the past was arrested for possession of marijuana. But sadly, other reports came out that he unsuccessfully committed suicide due to depression, and then soon after he would decide to go absent from acting again, with the real world catching up to him. And then in 2013 would take a surprise to the public eye by starting a music group called the Pizza Underground. They performed in Nottingham and lasted 15 minutes due to the crowd booing them off stage. However, would tour America and some parts of Europe. The band lasted 3 years, with them splitting up in 2016. And after this stage of his life passed by, he grew maturity and knew his path in life. He gradually started to appear in the media again, but with a completely different attitude. He would trickle into the world of acting again, but would refuse more jobs than what he would accept.
You know, like, I don't really pursue acting, like, at all, kind of thing. And I'm not saying it was a favor or anything like that, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, like, sounds like fun. So, it's a cool cast. It's like him, he's in it, Breckin Myers in it, Brenda Song, me.
So do you just, like, do whatever you want these days and just occasionally act when it comes up?
Yeah, if it comes up, like, you know, if it's a cool, like, neat little gig or something like that, like, yeah, sure. But, like I said, I don't pursue it in any kind of, like, any way. Like, I don't have agents anymore and things like that.
Is that because you're just not interested, or?
Yeah, kind of not interested. I don't really like the pursuit of it. You know, like, yeah, like what it
the
takes
whole process,
to yeah,
auditions,
exactly. I don't like being on the circuit, kind of thing. Looking at so.
For example, he was offered to act in the famous television series The Big Bang Theory 3 times, and each time he would deny. He would say that he would have got good money off it, but felt it wasn't worth it. He would decide to make the appearance in a film in 2017 called Changeland, and in the set he would meet Brenda Song, and they would have an affair, and this would be kept secret from the public eye for some time. They would soon move in together into a nice house, and this woman came into Macaulay's life at the right time. When his life was starting to make an upward trajectory again, of him finding his purpose and happiness, he would meet the woman that would bring him everything else that he was missing. They thought very fondly of each other. When Brenda's mother was being treated for cancer, Macaulay would make her a vegetable soup, because she was a vegetarian, and he also made her homemade potato chips. And in 2021, would welcome a new baby boy to the world, and in honour of the early passing of his sister, they would name the baby Dakota Song Culkin. She would bring him the purpose to act again. In 2018, he would make his own Instagram account, and from this point onwards, he would appear in many different projects, like more films, TV commercials, and his own show on YouTube that was called Bunny Ears, to which he would invite different people on the show to talk about all sorts of different topics. And the partner he does alongside this with would be a co-host called Bob Haggett. And as we talk about it today, the channel hasn't uploaded in 3 years, so unsure whether the channel is fully still operating. But it became clear that the actor suffers from a disease, which was called agoraphobia. On an interview, he would explain that his fear worsened when a group of fans would rock his trailer when he was on set. He would start to mentally fight this disorder by going out to public and taking his dogs for a walk, to which he would say that it's helped him a lot doing this daily. But one thing that has been clear throughout this video is that money doesn't buy anyone's happiness. The Culkin family got their lucky break with Macaulay, and he brought in millions to the family, but with him bringing this in, also ended their family. But Macaulay's story is an inspiration for anyone to take.